Hi friends, I'm Max Lucado. Welcome to Fresh Hope. I'm so glad you joined me as we wrap up this Facing Your Giants series based on this book that I wrote some time ago. I want to leave you with some practical and tactical tools to help you overcome the Goliaths in your life. Let's think back to David on the battlefield and examine the 5 stones that he chose to take down the giant. These oversized bullies still stalk. You know you're Goliath. You recognize his walk, the thunder of his voice. He taunts you with bills you can't pay and people you can't please and habits you can't break, failures you can't forget, and a future you can't face. Your giant can show up anywhere, anytime. But you may have noticed he's particularly fond of nighttime. He wakes you up with words of worry. He talks more trash than you hear on the basketball court. You don't have what it takes. You come from a long line of losers. He's your giant, your Goliath. Given half a chance, he'll turn your night into his valley of Elah, taunting and teasing you. Remember how Goliath misbehaved? 1 Samuel chapter 17 and verse 16 says, "For 40 days, twice a day, morning and evening, the Philistine giant strutted in front of the Israelite army." Goliaths still roam our world. Debt, disaster, danger, disease, challenges still swagger and strut and steal your sleep, peace and joy. But just like David, you can face your giants because now you know they can't dominate you. You know how to deal with them. You face your giants by facing God first. Here's the rule. Focus on giants, you stumble. But focus on God, your giants tumble. You know what David knew, and you do what David did. You pick up 5 stones and you make 5 decisions. Ever wonder why David took 5 stones into the battle? Why not 2 or 20? Rereading his story reveals 5 answers. In fact, use your 5 fingers to remind you of the 5 stones you need to face down your Goliath. Let your thumb remind you of the stone of the past. Goliath jogged David's memory. While everyone else quivered, David remembered. God had given him strength to wrestle a lion and strong-arm a bear. Wouldn't he do the same with the giant? David tells Saul in 1 Samuel 17, verses 34 through 36, "Your servant used to keep his father's sheep. And when a lion or a bear came and took a lamb out of the flock, I went out after it and struck it and delivered the lamb from its mouth. And when it arose against me, I caught it by its beard and struck it and killed it. Your servant has killed both lion and bear, and this uncircumcised Philistine will be like one of them, seeing that he has defied the armies of the living God." A good memory makes heroes. A bad memory makes wimps. Several years ago, my Goliath woke me at 4 a.m. with a list of worries. Our church was raising money for a youth building, more money than we had ever raised in one effort. The giant ridiculed me. "You guys are crazy. You'll never collect that much money." I couldn't argue. The economy was down. People were stressed. Goliath had me running for the trees. But then I remembered David, the story of the lion and the bear, so I decided to do what David did, gaze at God's victories. I pulled out my journal, and I began making a list of lion and bear-sized conquests. In the 5 previous years, God had prompted a businessman to donate several acres of land to the church. He prompted another church to buy our old building. And members gave above our needs, enabling the church to be 80% debt-free. God has done this before, I told myself, and my giant fell to the ground. 1 Chronicles 16 and verse 12 says, remember his marvelous works which he has done. Write today's worries in sand, chisel yesterday's victories in stone. Pick up the stone of the past. And then the second stone, the stone of prayer. Note the valley between your thumb and the finger. To pass from one to the next, you must go through it. Let it remind you of David's descent. Before going high, he went low. Don't face your giant without first doing the same by dedicating time to prayer. As Paul wrote in Ephesians 6:18, prayer is essential in this ongoing warfare. Pray hard and long. Prayer spawned David's successes. David spent the beginning of his reign running from Saul, who spared no expense trying to kill his young replacement. When Saul's soldiers tried to capture David, David turned toward God in prayer. In Psalm 59:16, we see these words, "You have been my defense and refuge in the day of my trouble." David dodged every bullet of Saul's, but spent a lot of time hiding out in caves to do so. How do you survive a fugitive life like that? Well, prayers like this one help. In Psalm 57, "Be good to me, God, and now I've run to you for dear life. I'm hiding out under your wings until the hurricane blows over. I call out to high God, the God who holds me together." When David soaked his mind in God, he stood. When he didn't, he flopped. You think he spent much time in prayer the evening he seduced Bathsheba? Did he write a psalm the day he murdered Uriah? Doubtful. Mark well this promise from the book of Isaiah. He, meaning God, will keep in perfect peace all who trust in him, whose thoughts are fixed on him. Isaiah 26:3. God promises peace to whom? To those whose minds are fixed on God. Invite God's help. Pick up the stone of prayer and don't neglect the middle finger, and that's the stone of priority. Let your tallest finger remind you of your highest priority, God's reputation. David jealously guarded it, as 1 Samuel 17:46-47 says. David fought so that all the earth may know that there is a God in Israel. Then all this assembly shall know the Lord does not save with sword and spear, for the battle is the Lord's. David saw Goliath as a chance for God to show off. Did David know he would exit the battle alive? No. But he was willing to give his life for the reputation of God. What if you saw your giant in the same way? Rather than hate him, welcome him. Your sin is God's opportunity to showcase grace. Your struggling marriage can display God's power. See your struggle as God's canvas, and on it he will paint his multicolored supremacy. Announce God's name and then reach for our fourth stone, the stone of passion. 1 Samuel chapter 17 and verse 48 says, "As Goliath moved closer to attack, David quickly ran out to meet him." David ran not away from, but toward his giant. On one side of the battlefield, Saul and his army gulped. On the other, Goliath and his army scoffed. In the middle, the shepherd boy ran on his skinny legs. Who bet on the kid from Bethlehem? Not the Philistines, not the Hebrews, not David's siblings, but God did. And since God did, and since David knew God did, he ran toward his giant. Do the same. What good has overthinking your problems gotten you? Has it helped? No. Listing hurts won't heal them. Itemizing problems won't solve them. David killed the giant because he emphasized the Lord. Let your ring finger remind you to take up the stone of passion. One more stone and finger remains. That's your pinky. This is the stone of persistence. David didn't think one rock would do. He knew Goliath had 4 behemoth relatives. 2 Samuel chapter 21 lists them. Ishbi-Benob was a descendant of the giants. His bronze spearhead weighed more than 7 pounds. Verse 16. Soph made the list, described as another descendant of the giants. Verse 18. Then there was the brother of Goliath of Gath. The handle of his spear was as thick as a weaver's beam. Verse 19. And the biggest of all, verse 20 describes him. There was a giant there with 6 fingers on his hands and 6 toes on his feet, 24 fingers and toes. He was another of those descended from Rapha. Why did David carry 5 stones? Could it be because Goliath had 4 relatives the size of Tyrannosaurus Rex? For all David knew, they'd come running over the hill to defend their kin, and David was ready to empty the chamber if that's what it took. Imitate him. Never give up. You know, one prayer might not be enough. One day or a month of resolve might not suffice. You may get knocked down a time or two, but don't quit. Keep loading the rocks. Keep swinging the sling. Don't make the mistake of Florence Chadwick. In 1952, she attempted to swim the chilly ocean waters between Catalina Island and the California shore. She swam through foggy weather and choppy seas for 15 hours. Her muscles began to cramp and her resolve weakened. She begged to be taken out of the water, but her mother, riding in a boat alongside, urged her not to give up. She kept trying, but grew exhausted and stopped swimming. Aides lifted her out of the water and into the boat. They paddled a few more minutes. The mist broke, and she discovered that the shore was less than half a mile away. All I could see was the fog, she explained at a news conference. I think if I could have seen the shore, I would have made it. Friend, take a long look at the shore that awaits you. Don't be fooled by the fog of the slump. The finish may be only strokes away. God may be, at this moment, lifting his hand to signal Gabriel to grab the trumpet. Angels may be assembling. Saints may be gathering. Demons may be trembling. Stay at it. Stay in the water. Stay in the race. Stay in the fight. Give grace one more time. Be generous one more time. Teach one more class. Encourage one more soul. Swim one more stroke. David took 5 stones. He made 5 decisions. Do the same. Imitate David. The past, the prayer, the priority, the passion, and the persistence, they're all necessary to bring down your giant. And the next time Goliath wakes you up, just reach for a stone. Odds are he'll be out of the room before you can load your sling. Face your giants by facing God first. And the same God who helped David achieve the impossible will help you do the same.